All right, 40K enthusiasts, in this podcast, in this vlog, I want to explore some of the ideas. I want to explore a checklist regarding dedicated assault units in 40K. Making them work, using them to not only exceed their point value, but use them as a way to control and manage the flow of the game. Underneath this podcast, in the info box, is a link back to my blog, The Berserkers of Scalathrax. Coronate glory in all of its martial honor. Talking about my Berserker army, talking about some of the units from a Chaos Space Marine perspective. But again, this is just a template. This applies to really any 40K army and the direction that you want to take it. But it's more through the CSM viewpoint on there, if you're interested in that. So, a dedicated assault unit. I define that in 40K as there are a lot of units that can launch an assault in 40K that might be able to win by weight of numbers. You know, you give that order, that commissar gives that order, and hundreds of guardsmen charge forward. That's a lot of dice. You flood the tables with a lot of gaunts. That's a lot of dice. But the challenge in kind of a mass counterattack assault unit, Chaos Cultists, I use them all the time. There's a lot to coordinate. The dice can swing, and there's a good chance that you are going to be wiped out in the process. Now, if it's a minimal amount of points, who really cares, right? The dead cost nothing for that one moment of glory. My Chaos Cultists, I have 2 or 3 units that I will always go after the biggest, hardest target on the table. A recent game against Tyranids, I was going after one of the Flying Hive Tyrants. I knew it was going to chew through it. I knew it was probably going to shift the game somewhat, right? I mean, essentially I'm saying, hey, look, here's a couple of 100 points. Go after it, right? You're just going to chew through them. But consider that. Consider the epicness of it. It's not enough just to win, because Khorne doesn't care if you win or lose. But imagine if my cultists were able to defeat that Hive Tyrant. Imagine across the void, across the warp, these cultists dedicated to Khorne. If they can just, in a moment's notice, attract the gaze of Khorne, imagine the gifts of immortality on there. And imagine the bragging rights that I would have for all eternity against this, we're not naming any names, this one Tyranid player. It would be worth it. And with 40K, the way the dice swing all the time, it could happen. So a dedicated assault unit is one that you are spending a lot of points that is able to generate not only massive amounts of dice, but it's going to have a high AP value with the modifiers there. It's going to have ways to leverage special abilities. Essentially what it hits, it's going to destroy. Now the challenge here, of course, is being able to utilize this to get the most points. And you don't want to go against, easier said than done, we're going to look at some of the ideas behind it. We don't want to go against a hard unit. In my Berserkers of Scalathrax list, I have about 2 or 3, depending on what level we're playing at, of these dedicated assault units. Chosen Terminators, Lord on Juggernaut, massive amounts of just coronate Berserkers, which I have to say, in the current edition of 40K, Zerks are really good. They're good for what they do. If I take one of those groups dedicated to the assault, and I throw it against your Death Company, I throw it against a similar dedicated assault unit, what is going to happen? Well, we're going to hit, we're going to roll some dice, right? There's a saying, when 2 tigers fight, in Budo, when 2 tigers fight, one wins, but is mauled for life. So with this, what's the best I'm going to do? I'm going to hit your Death Company, we're going to self-destruct, I'm going to win, but my Death Star, my dedicated assault unit, my Alpha unit, whatever we want to call it, is essentially out for the game. Is that a bad thing? Well, if my opponent has everything thrown into that one unit, maybe I want to trade 1-to-1 because I have 2 other units, but more than likely not. What I want to do, and this seems a little bit counterintuitive to 40K, is I want to gang up. I want to just gobble up the points. I want to go after small little units and take that this turn, take that next turn. For every turn, I need to be gobbling up units. I need to be damaging units. I need to be positioning units, because it's also the effect of where other things are on the table. And we're going to kind of visualize a scenario from my Berserkers of Scalathrax in a moment. I want to know and engage what I can chew through. Now, I'll push it a little bit, right? I'll maybe take on some Terminators. I'll maybe take on your special character on there. And I don't mind taking some losses, but I need to be reliably able to chew through them in one turn to make that happen. That's where we want to aim a dedicated assault unit. Now, 40K has a finite number of turns. Whether you're playing a fixed amount or random game length, there's a lot of different missions out there to explore. You don't have all day. Your unit is not going to go until it's wiped out. It's going to go till either it's wiped out or the game ends. What this means is that as soon as possible, I need to be launching that assault. As soon as possible, I need to be stuck in there. So you design your unit first. What is the delivery system? How is it going to get in there? Some might be naturally fast. We're looking like Chaos Demons or something like that. Other ways, it might be something classic, like for my Berserkers of Scalathrax, something as simple as a Land Raider. You might have some flyer delivery. So yes, now we're investing in the points. So the second thing we want to look at for the delivery system is not only, physically transporting them or getting them there, and it could be, psychic delivery or deep strike or other type things. The transport mechanism might not actually be a model, but if it's going to be a model, then what else can that model affect? We want to look at the war gear. We want to look at the weapons. We want to look at the options and see what else it can possibly affect. So the last thing we want to add on, and these are points that are going to break away as things move on, and we want to look at, you need some sort of screening unit, bodyguard unit, whatever we want to call it. It might be another assault unit. It might be something to work in tandem. With my Black Templars, I'll send in some Termies, Lightning Claw Termies, and a Land Raider. I have Assault Marines going in next to them because they can keep up, they can break off. In my Berserkers of Scalathrax list, there's also a Lord on a Juggernaut. There's some Cultists. There's also a Vindicator. Now, this is where you can pull a lot from your model collection. You wouldn't think that a Vindicator is going to be a dedicated assault unit, but it goes in and it works with it. So now my opponent, as that Land Raider and as that Vindicator are moving forward, and this scales up based on the level of the game we're playing. Okay, if you stop the Land Raider, that allows my Vindicator to be free. If you stop my Vindicator, that reasonably allows my Land Raider to be free. If you don't have a good swing, a good flow of dice, and you try to stop the Land Raider or the Vindicator and you fail, now I have both moving up. Likewise, if you pull off a unit and you start to move into intercept, I can move off with that Vindicator and engage you and stop you before you get close to my Land Raider. In theory, right? There's a lot of factors in here. How you roll, how you move, what else is going on. But at least you're going in with a plan with what you're doing and what we're looking at. So what is your screening unit going to be? The delivery unit is also important because when you get stuck in, when my Land Raider grinds to a halt, those doors open up, I fire off the frag launchers and I run in there. Well, you're going to have other units that are going to be moving, right? You're going to have other units that are going to try and reinforce. That's going to be a target-rich environment. Outnumbered? No. Target-rich environment. So the Land Raider or your other delivery system or whatever it's going to be is going to be able to pivot, turn, and now engage multiple other units there based on what you're pulling in. That's where I would look. That is how I would start. That is the template. And again, with your army, a dedicated assault unit based on what you're playing, what you have in your model collection, and where you want the direction of your army to go. It could be 2 or 3 units. My Berserkers of Scalathrax, it's a Lord on a Juggernaut with Spawn. The Spawn accompany the Lord. They move in. Lord has the speed. Spawn are the breakaway units. I've got a group of Terminators in a Land Raider with Vindicator. And, I have Mauler Fiends too, but they're a little bit separate. They're more of a flanking type unit. So I'll run those 2, and then I have a group of Terminators deep striking in. And maybe I'll play them, maybe I won't, depending on what else we have going on. But it could be multiples across the board, or in the case of my Black Templars, 1 unit going in there.